Hi, I'm Robert Christophor Coppes, and I will explain why heaven is there for all of us. There are no exceptions, and therefore heaven also waits for you. I'm convinced that there is a wonderful heaven where we will all go because for decades I've studied near-death experiences and I had in-depth interviews with hundreds of NDErs. You can find the results of my research in my books, the latest one being Impressions of Near-Death Experiences, published together with IANDS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. So I became convinced that there is a heaven. How this heaven looks like and how it functions, I don't know. No one knows. If someone tells you he or she knows exactly how things are in the afterlife, don't hesitate and run away as quickly as possible. No one can know that, and neither can I. My conviction of a heaven for all is based on two major points. The first major point is NDEs, and the second one is veridical observations in NDEs. Veridical observations are observations of NDErs that were made while out of the body and that were verified later, after the NDErs returned to their body. I will explain this a bit more later on, as it is my second point, but I want to stress that this is a very important point, because veridical observations give circumstantial evidence that NDEs are real and that our consciousness can exist outside our body. Our consciousness does not need a body to exist. If you want to know more about veridical observations, then please see my other podcast. But first, let's dive deeper into my first point, near-death experiences. So, NDEs are extraordinary experiences in which people say they leave their body. Sometimes their consciousness can wander around in the hospital or near the crash site where they had their accident and where they had left their body. In either case, their consciousness is no longer attached to their body, so it can wander around. It is able to go through concrete walls and firmly closed windows, and really nothing can stop it. As a sidestep, NDEs don't only occur in medical critical situations like a cardiac arrest or an accident. NDEs have occurred during deep existential or psychological crises. And there are stories of people who had their NDEs during a deep meditation or a prayer. And there are even examples in which an NDE seems to have occurred for no reason at all, spontaneously. See my book for more examples. After leaving the body, the consciousness sometimes travels through a tunnel, a wormhole, or a crack in time-space. We don't know exactly what happens, but eventually the NDEr arrives in a completely different world. A world totally different from the everyday world we know. Often this goes so quick that there is no tunnel or wormhole to be seen. In any case, this other reality seems to be a non-material world with unearthly landscapes, colors, sounds, and look and feel. It is more beautiful than our world. It is more dimensional. And NDErs say it is more real than our earthly world. It is a world where space and time are completely different. They even seem non-existent. They don't form obstacles like in our world. How nice. Once there, we can be wherever we want to be and in whatever time we choose. Our deceased friends and relatives are there, and even our deceased pets. The communication with them, with other beings of light, or with the light, is effortless. And we know all there is to know because all knowledge is freely available. Here are some quotes of NDErs, and I just love their quotes because they are insightful. My whole book is full of them. quotes of more than 100 NDErs, and I will give a few of them. 1. The experience was more real and more vivid and more dimensional than living. 2. It was more real than life itself. 3. Time is there all at the same time. And 4. I could then see into eternity, see the entire universe. The past, present, and future all were one. 5. There is no such thing as a linear time on the other side. And 6. I was surrounded by my deceased relatives. I was feeling so much joy and lightness from seeing them. And 7. In this state, there was nothing that I did not know. All knowledge was there. And finally, 8. There was no pain, there was no fear, there was no shame. I felt completely accepted, totally whole and loved. Loved beyond comprehension. End of quotes. And the nice thing of NDEs is that the experiencer feels that this other world is their real home. It is there that we all belong. That other world is filled with unconditional love for everyone, no exception, so also for you. Here are some 3 more quotes. The first one: I was 1,000,000 miles away from any earthly home I had ever known, yet this was home. And 2, after an accident, another NDEr was hovering above the crash scene and saw a tunnel of light opening. She says about this light, I felt it pulsing with love, and it called me, it drew me, it pulled me, and it beaconed me home. And 3, when this next NDEr was on the other side, he melted with unconditional love, and he says about this, this is who I am, this is all there is. It was as if I had come home to myself, home to the ultimate nature of reality, home to love. Now you may wonder, is it real? Isn't it just a trick of the dying brain? Aren't these just hallucinations? Of course, these are valid questions. Previously, I have been struggling with such questions too, but this is where we must discuss the second major point, veridical observations. Now, what are they? These veridical observations? They are observations made during the time of being out of the body. So that is during the time the consciousness can wander around and be in a different place than where the body is. It can also be during the time that the NDEr's consciousness is in this wonderful heaven-like environment. And these observations become then veridical when they can be confirmed independently. For clarification, let me give an example. For more on veridical observations, please listen to the other podcast on that specific subject. The example is of a patient who floated out of her body towards a ledge outside the hospital. There she saw a tennis shoe which had some detailed characteristics like the dark blue collar, a wear spot over the little toe, and the logo. And later, the patient asked a social worker to see if there actually was such a shoe in the ledge. And the social worker went searching. And she looked out of many windows, especially those that had a view of the ledge. And indeed, she found the shoe. In a book published by IANDS, you can find hundreds of these quotes, of these stories, and the book is called The Self Does Not Die. That concludes the second major point in my reasoning. As a conclusion, I can say this. The number of veridical observations is growing, and it gives circumstantial evidence that our consciousness can exist outside the body. It does not need a body to survive. The NDErs that had these veridical observations also talk about an afterlife that is there for everyone and that consists of unconditional love And this convinced me that there is an afterlife. And how that afterlife is, I don't know. But it seems to be full of love. And I can say that I don't believe in hell. My conviction is based on the information that NDErs give us. And read my book with hundreds of quotes from more than 100 NDErs. Or listen to my other podcasts about love, distressing NDEs, We Are One, the reason that we are here on earth, and various religions. Those are the subjects. I wish you well.